When Waterside Construction is the only one, they'll just declare bankruptcy. We know how that works. That's why they establish one corporation to do a project. When there's a problem, they just declare bankruptcy and they're gone. And the taxpayers of Edgewater, we're paying, and we paid him $3 million to contaminate our field and to put all our lives in danger. And you guys go, how can we help you save money? Merry Christmas.
Would you like to hear next?
I have been here and
Welcome back.
Nori Mitchell, 28 Hudson Ave. I'm just going to read this because I'm going to bear this justice. Okay? Please bear with me. I'm very concerned about the rush to get Edgewater's veteran field finished. It's undeniable black eye and costly embarrassment for the mayor and council members and taxpayers, whose tax money is now being used in costly lawsuits between the company and owner who deliberately or accidentally recontaminated the park to an ever greater degree of contamination, which his company was hired to remediate in the first place. Also, the bonding insurance company, whose job was to protect the town if the job was not done or done improperly. They should have not tried to force the town to continue to use this company who no longer had the trust of anyone in this town. They needed to pay the bond in a timely manner so the town could move on with the project with a different company. We also are paying lawyers and special counsel to try to affix a blame and assess damages. We are now paying another company to dispose of the first company's construction debris, and we're back to trying to get this mess cleaned up. The mayor and council have to accept blame for hiring and perhaps not properly vetting this applicant as to certification and requirements and the knowledge and experience to do this job properly. Instead, they seem to have hired a local, deeply entrenched town landowner and developer. And what we needed was an experienced remediation and contamination abatement company. Then there's a claim by that owner that the contaminated cement building debris from his other construction site was dumped all over our park on a weekend when the testing company was not working, was his attempt to finish the park sooner for the people and the children of our town. How's that working for us? This all rings hollow for 3 reasons. First, all loads of fill were to be tested. That's why the testing company was hired. The contractor would and should then have known about the contaminants. The crushed cement debris came from his construction site that he owned and was in the process of demolishing, clearing, and building on. This was the last of the Alcoa aluminum site, which had its own history of testing and contamination problems when the Avalon apartments were built there years earlier. All the more reason to test. The contaminated crushed cement from the other Alcoa aluminum buildings were allowed, as he stated, to be used, not because it wasn't contaminated, but because it was to be used as a subsurface underlayment for the new river road that was then to be paved over. And years ago, years ago, we replaced the cement path with a brick one at my house. We had a very hard time getting rid of 5 5-gallon pails of broken up concrete. We were told by the town it was considered hazardous waste, and we needed to take it to North Bergen to a special site to dispose of such hazard materials and to pay to get rid of them. So how is it that a company can tear down and crush thousands of tons of concrete, which were also contaminated by industrial chemicals, and its proper disposal was not understood by a professional remediation company? Our once beautiful park became their free hazardous waste construction debris dump, which introduced much more contamination than the original historic fill ever contained. When is construction debris ever, even if not laced with chemicals, decided clean fill by anyone for a ball field or park dedicated to honor our vets? I also thought you said the field was to be cleaned up 100% before anything else was to be done to it. Now you seem to be backing away from this promise for expediency's sake and plan to clean some of the park, pave over known hotspots with parking and paths, and dump clay over other spots, and then fill on top. Will you also give us a map to know what's clean and what's just covered up? Where will the new fill come from? Years ago, a contractor hired to raise Pagoda's ball fields because of a flooding problem used construction debris for his underlayment, and then several feet of clean fill on top. The problem was the rusty metal and the rebar didn't stay under the fill, and over time worked its way up and almost caused my nephew to lose his leg. He slid into home base and connected with a piece of rusty construction garbage. After many stitches, scars, tetanus shots, and antibiotics, he's okay. The town of Pagoda held that contractor liable for what he did to the town's park. The town of, sorry. Will this be another cleanup in our future? All to make sure we play baseball by spring? We are a society that now reads all labels and ingredients on every aspect of our lives, especially regarding our children. Let's err on the side of caution. Some of the chemicals used to make artificial turf are known carcinogens. Others are just questionable. A well-known pediatric oncologist stated, as his opinion on NBC with Brian Williams on 2 occasions, that no children under the age of 10, in his opinion, should ever use a field because of their immature immune system. They should not play in the fields of artificial turf made with recycled tires, as the ingredients are on some of this artificial turf, or on recycled tire crumbles, which is used as mulch in playgrounds. There have been many articles in the Record for months which have been stating reasons why many towns and school systems have voted not to use, and some have even removed artificial turf from their fields and playgrounds because of their concerns about the known and possible cancer-causing chemicals used to make these products, and any of the emissions that might come from them. There are concerns of children getting hurt on the less forgiving surface than natural grass. And at least one field was flooded and destroyed when the subsurface drainage wasn't adequate. As you know, our park is next to the river. It is also very expensive to install and periodically replace. And we're talking 4 baseball fields. Please use real grass on all park surfaces, no artificial turf. As you were campaigning, you admitted that you were told by most people that they wanted real grass put back in the park, even if it's only a possible health risk. Until we know for sure, the smart and prudent choice would be to say no to artificial turf. Even though we have all waited a long time to use these fields and playgrounds and track, we need to take the time to do it right. Be patient a little longer and not expose anyone to known or possibly unknown health and safety concerns. Maybe some real green grass and trees can help us all breathe easier. We are sadly overdeveloped, overpaved, and with way too much traffic and pollution filling our little town. Real grass does take time to establish itself, but what we get back is cleaner air and oxygen, and the peace of mind that we have made the right choice for ourselves, our children, and their children. There are no shortcuts to any place worth going. Please take your time and get it right. make our little gem by the river something we all can be proud of and worth honoring our veterans. Green is more than a color. Thank you.
Valerie?
I didn't even think I raised my hand yet.
Oh, just anticipating, I guess.
I know. Valerie Bardina, 16 Hudson Place. I just wanted to talk a little about the cemetery. About a year, 2 years ago, Mike Trachtenberg sent a letter to you, or an email, to the council, advising them of the damage that was being done by the construction next door, the Wheeling building by Mr. Dives. The letter went ignored. The council never answered Mr. Trachtenberg. I wish he was here tonight. I should have told him to come. It just went ignored. He sent several emails again because he was appalled at it, and he spoke at the council meeting about it a year or two ago. And everybody just sat like this, nobody answered. And so now you're talking about our DPW, and we do, I think, have one of the finest DPW things, are going to repair the damage and, you know, do all these wonderful things. And again, the Edgewater taxpayers are going to foot the bill for something Mr. Fred Dives Construction Company did. I don't understand. Like, there's an elephant in the room, and you guys keep ignoring it. This election, we ran offline as an independent. You should have really killed us. You should have. We did one mailing. We just were 2 people with 3 helpers. And we came so close, and we would have won if the Republicans didn't have a phony person on the line, and you didn't have the 4th district gerrymandered. But that was the public telling you, we're tired of this. We know what you're doing. We know it's not above reproach. So the next step will be for the Attorney General to come swarm in here, because you're leaving a trail that is amazing, amazing. I'm a paralegal. I'm sure Mr. Carson could tell you, paralegals, they're trained for research. I am amazed what I have found out with you guys, amazed. Just sitting there, out there. You're, oh, anyway, I'm not gonna go further. You're on that. Mr. Dives caused the damage. Mr. Dives should pay for the damage. If you wanna have the DPW clean it, let Mr. Dives reimburse us for what it costs. We know he did it. We know every person up here who is conflicted with Mr. Dives, who either sits at a desk next to Mr. Christensen, or has a family member who worked for him, or now doesn't work for him, so that council member can talk on his behalf. He's not conflicted anymore. We know all of this. We know who stayed in his winter home. We know everything. And it doesn't matter. You just keep getting the chance to do it right, but you don't. You don't. And I'm tired of it. I really am. And I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talk about it, but, you know, you can see. Now, on March 26, 2014, the council spoke, and you made a statement that you're going to aggressively pursue those, you're going to aggressively and pursue all legal rights that are at your exposure. You named some companies, let's see, Liberty Mutual, Waterside, individuals, and any other person. And I asked you, are you going to pursue litigation against Brian Christensen? Because he was a consultant for Waterside. When the contamination happened, Brian Christensen was there. every day, every day. So are you going to add him to your lawsuit? I hope so. And I really hope that you're not going to drop Mr. Fred Dives personally from the litigation, because you could bet dollars to donuts Mr. Waterside Corporation will be defunct and we will be holding the bag again. I'm sure of it. And I'm sure that this is probably your plan. Take Mr. Dives off, just go after Waterside, and a year or two, you think people have short memories, Waterside will be gone. We have a bet. I bet Mr. Corson that was going to happen. He doesn't believe me, but it will. On March 26th, you said you were going to clean, March 26, 2014. I take copious notes. You were going to clean to the highest standard. You were standing by that. On July 23rd, 2014, you said it. On July 23rd, March 26th, and April 4th. You said you were standing by it. Our former mayor, Jim Delaney, made a statement that, and actually at, I think it was the March 26th meeting, before you decided to go into closed session, you, Councilman Henwood, said, Mayor, I think we should make it clear. I think there might be some confusion. Just so there's no confusion, we are going to clean that park to the highest standard. And so I hope this recent discovery of the water in now mixed in is not going to change that. Which leads me to my other question. If we're hitting the water table, have we advised the DEP? I heard you say that the DEP signed off on the clay. Did we tell them that we're hitting a water table? Is clay sufficient? Are we now required, and I do believe according to DEP regulations, if it's above a certain level, you now have to put a deed restriction on the parcel. And if you're...
Just interrupt 1 second. I let the speakers finish speaking. I'm sorry. Meredith, she had a document read. The past 5 minutes, if you just kind of wrap it up. I gave her the benefit because she brought a document.
Well, I brought lots of documents.
You know,
and I have lots of
you don't
writing.
defer to me. It's 5 minutes. I can
So
stop you
if I
now.
just
You could
read
wrap
it?
That's
We have
all.
all night.
But if I, no,
Sorry.
I don't want to argue, but
We
if I
have
just
all night.
read it, does that make a difference? Because I
I
have
don't even
pages
understand what I was
written.
referring to. but
Okay, so
You need to
then
wrap it up
my,
one way or the other.
my other question is, are we still permitted to do a self-implementing plan if the contamination is above a certain level and the water table has been affected?
Okay, the LSRPs are actually speak to some of these questions as soon as the open session is done, so we'll be able to get you answers on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who's next? Peter?
Oh, just one more question. When you made the statement about that nobody but the public, nobody really knew about the meeting, I might suggest that wonderful 911 announcement where people get the phone calls, you use that and say, hey, we're having a public meeting. If you really want the public to be there.
Boss, this is Sunday, but I can congratulate Barbara Ray for the 25 years of service. Thank you. The lighter issue of the artificial turf, I'd like to bring up. NBC had an article, and one of their older articles, when our artificial turf poses lead exposure risk. And it quotes Mrs. Heather Howard from the New Jersey Health and Senior Service Commission. Quote, these test results show that reasons for concern about the potential for lead exposure from artificial turf fields that contain lead. The article was not too long, but I wanted to share it with you as you go to look for contractors. Get the guarantee that they don't have it in there. And no, if they do, we can claim against them. I'm not for the artificial turf, but there's ways of approaching the problem. Another article, which is much longer, and maybe look up soccerwire.com, SOCCER, WIRA.com. about the heat that builds up on plastic as you have it in playground areas, and that heat going through their sneakers and kids falling on it. This is more in the soccer realm, but again, how our artificial turfs have dangers. Let me just pass this out to you. Dr. Jordan, welcome back. I'll be quick. I had some questions about the field. What contaminants are being found in the field now as the environmental agency starts to remove? Is there more being found than just PVC? And where is it being taken to? If this should be public document, is it these documents in our town where we can look over them? What's the name of the place? Who records it as it's taken out? And where is it going? And who records it on the other end? So that I feel it's a matter of verification now. It's no longer, we have an environmental company that's going to take care of it, verify it in documents that the public can see. I also want to know if OSHA visits the site. I see men out there in blue jeans and flannel shirts or t-shirts. If the contaminate's there, how are the workers being protected from the contact? I also noticed several times when I passed through, the fences are down across from the front of the community center. The aluminum fences, and I presume it's from the wind knocking them over. But they're down. The field isn't closed up at night. This is something that should be done by some borough official, making sure it's completed. And also the site that's filling with water near the parking lot to the east of the community center. The fences are down there too. They're protection fences. Right, thank you very much.
Katie, please.
Katie Jones, 359 Undercliff Avenue. I just want to know what constitutes a consensus that you come to a decision to go for the AstroTurf. Like you said, well, you know, there was an article, coaches, we're two people here. Parents, how many? What constitutes? I spoke against it. I'm a coach. I coached for 15 years. First rule of coaching, you look out for the health, safety, and welfare of the children. I don't understand. Mr. Chevalier likened this to wooden versus aluminum bats. Well, the Domoleskis just settled a $14.5 million lawsuit several years ago because of that situation, which could have been prevented. That's a preventative situation. We seem to be marching right into a toxic situation, and we're doing nothing about it. That supposedly was the one section of the field that was not polluted. Now we're going to pollute it with tire crumbs that are, you know, contain arsenic, benzene, cadmium, nickel. Let's see, what else? We got benzothiazole, butylated hydroxyzole, hexadicane, phenyl, zinc, selenium, lead, cadmium. These are all environmental toxins that have been deemed by the National Institute of Cancer to cause cancer. Now, I guess Mr. Delaney's leaving because he doesn't want his children playing on that property over there, and I don't blame him. Because I know only too well what happens when a child's exposed to environmental toxins. Some of you have children, some of you have nieces and nephews. What is the rush to get that field open? You're also talking about the Challenger League, which has physically and mentally challenged children. Can you please look at me when I'm talking to you? When it has physically and mentally...
Excuse me, who are you talking to?
I'm talking to you.
You have no right to talk to me.
I have no right. Why? Who are you?
If I'm writing notes based on you talking, that is my business. Finish your 5 minutes and sit
It's
down.
recorded, and you don't talk to me like that.
I just did.
Yeah, good for you. You're such a big man. Anyway, here we go. So we have physically and mentally challenged children that are playing an AstroTurf that plays a lot faster. I know this because I used to play so fast, unlike a few of you. Anyway, the ball moves faster. You have kids that are now in Little League. Their motor skills aren't fully developed. You have physically and mentally challenged children. Their motor skills are a little delayed. You're going to have that ball moving at a lot faster speed. You're going to open yourself up to a lot of injuries. So you're pushing kids on the field to play quicker. For what reason? To get a season in? Now you're saying it's because of the rain. Well, you know, on extremely hot days, you can't play on AstroTurf because it causes more toxic problems. Not only does it cause problems with injuries, and not only is it cancer causing, it also it causes allergic reactions, liver problems, nervous system disorders, and respiratory problems. Okay? So what exactly are you rushing into to open up the Little League field with AstroTurf? What was the big deal to have that meeting to make sure you put AstroTurf on the field? Who's the company that's putting it on the field? What's the name of the company?
5 minutes, Katie.
What is it?
You have 5 minutes.
What's the name of the company that's putting the AstroTurf on the field?
You have 5 minutes, Katie.
You don't know what the name of the company
You have
is?
5 minutes.
You don't know what the
Have we
name of
answered
the
any
company
questions
is and the
tonight?
principal people who are putting the AstroTurf on the field?
Either finish or please.
You people are an absolute disgrace that you can't answer that question. You don't know off the top of your head who's putting the AstroTurf on the field?
5 minutes, Katie.
No, I want to know who's putting the AstroTurf. Can you tell me? Do you know? Are you the reporter?
First of all.
No, she's just a
it's out of
stenographer.
control. I mean, it's an expensive. we have to-
Wait, what is he saying?
Yeah, I've got it. Please,
I
let the public
just-
have their 5 minutes and we will respond to you. We have the answer for you,
Well,
Katie.
can I have?
Finish your 5
See,
minutes.
but you do that.
We're not interacting with it.
It's
We're not-
disconnected and nobody knows the answer. No, you never get to the
Clock is
answer.
ticking. We'll give you the answer, I promise. We will, I promise.
You promise, like you promised to bring the ball
Yes.
field up to the highest
Exactly.
standards of cleanliness?
Exactly.
Good for you.
That's the
Shame
answer.
on you. Shame on you.
Who's next?
Tell my husband, shame on you.
Okay, Dennis.
I just want to say, shame on you also.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else? See no further, we'll close the session to the public. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to have a response by the LSRP. I'm also going to ask some specific questions of our special counsel on some of the comments from the public, which you take notes on. And it's not an open session, you don't get to respond to them. This is not, this was set up so that we understood there was going to be some concerns about the article that was written, and this will be a response to it. And before we go on to it, if you could sort of just give a recap that you did the other night at the special meeting, I just want to hit a couple quick things that have nothing to do with the ball field at this point. But Valerie, and I apologize if my presentation was too quick or not clear. The DPW is doing nothing with regard to anything that the spa, the Heaven, or Waterside, or Dykes wrote, or there's not, and the Historical Society chairwoman is shaking her head in approval or an agreement. Everything I say they're doing is for cemetery maintenance. It's nothing to do with the property next door. I just want to be clear on that. If we could just have a little presentation as to, if you wouldn't mind, as to what, if you took some notes, I'll help you along the way. Have you talked to OSHA, or is OSHA coming? I'll let you get started. I have some things if you haven't filled them all. Introduce yourself, please.
Tom Barber, First Environment, Welfare for the property.
Ben Latanzi, project manager for the site.
And, first I want to clarify that the site is being overseen by the Environmental Protection Agency, which is the US EPA. OSHA, who does oversee worker safety and health, has not been to the site.
Can we have them have a mic?
Only come
'Cause-
to the site if there's
sorry.
an accident.
Excuse me, can we have them have a mic because their back is to us? Is the mic on?
The mic is in your mouth.
Thanks. Thank you.
Testing. Can you start from the beginning again?
Speak into it.
We'll
Speak
start
into it.
over.
Just slide it back and forth when he was talking.
Okay, this is Tom Barber from First Environment on the LSRP for the property. The site is currently being overseen by the US EPA. The DEP, New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, does play a role in it, but given this is predominantly a PCB remediation, it's being overseen by the US EPA. OSHA does oversee worker safety and health for the United States, obviously. They would not respond to this site unless there was a worker accident or a worker incident. That has not been the case, as we have expressed at other meetings. We have air monitors that are continuously monitoring dust emissions from the property, and the work that is being performed can be performed under what's known as level B safety precautions.